Should I do this?
No, yes, do it.
Do whatever?
Do it now.
Okay. This is Mark Mars. I'd heard a lot about CalArts, and I was enthralled with it.
I came to CalArts because CalArts gave you the chance to be an artist without having somebody giving you a grade on what you did. And they wouldn't say, oh, you didn't get a B, so we're flunking you.
The first time I heard about CalArts, I was a student at the University of Oregon studying music, and on the first day of class, the professor stood in front of the class, and he said, you should be at CalArts. I mean, this was at the University of Oregon, but he announced, if you want to go to a real school, you should be at CalArts.
Nick England, Dr. England, and so he went to Bali actually, and then found me there in Bali and asked me to come to teach the summer school here at the beginning. 1971 I came, he brought me here for summer school classes. Then after that he asked me to come back.
In high school I remember seeing a brochure of CalArts, and there was a guy with long hair on a skateboard going down the hall. A picture of that. And I thought, that's a place for me.
I actually flipped a coin. It was between going to med school and going to art school, and it was CalArts or the biomed program, and I flipped a coin and CalArts won 2 out of 3.
I remember being with my family at Disneyland, and we were walking down Main Street, and lo and behold, they had taken one of the storefronts there and they had turned it into a little CalArts demo center. And they had a scale model of this building that we're in right now. And I was fascinated with the idea that Walt Disney could bring together all these different disciplines all in one place. And that sort of was tucked away in the back of my mind.
From my dance teachers in San Diego that said that I was the type of student who would benefit from a program like CalArts with my eclectic background in many art forms.
I came out to CalArts to just kind of see where I wanted to go, and also I had a background in art design, and so it appealed to me to go to a school that had some interdisciplinary activity going on. And I just liked the atmosphere of being able to create my own program while I was here.
I am a fan of theater and art, and when I was in high school, I had 4 drama school teachers. And one day they got so fed up with me, she threw this brochure in front of me and said, Todd, this is where you belong. It's a school in Valencia. It's called CalArts.
My mother had read about it, and then I think she later regretted that, and one of my composition teachers back on the East Coast came and sat down at the kitchen table with my parents and said that it would be a wonderful opportunity. And so he convinced them that I should come.
I heard about this school that had this amazing faculty, no grades, so your evaluation was really, really an experiential evaluation. And the whole description just appealed to me so much. I wouldn't have gone to graduate school if I hadn't known about CalArts. I'd always studied dance.
At the time, at UCLA, we were using 1950s black and white studio cameras with turret lenses, no zooms. I did research to see who in America had a school that had color video, and the answer I got back was CalArts.
I came to CalArts in 1971 and joined the classical music school. My grandfather, Joachim Chasman, was the lead violin pedagogue, and I studied piano with Leonid Hambro. And these were the top men at their field.
I came here because I really wanted to be able to integrate myself into all sorts of different art forms, not just film. I was also very much into music and into theater. I ended up singing and acting in different productions, and CalArts had a lot of stuff going for it, so that's why I came here. All under one roof.
I really wanted to be a film composer, and score emotions and emotional arts and stuff like that. And at the time was Dick Rose music. You know, that was the factory. If you went to Dick Rose, they would churn you out and you'd hit the stage and you're gonna go. I remember, you know, putting the portfolio together, and you know, you have your jazz charts, you have your pop music, and you have your stuff. But then I just did like this improvisational, atonal thing that just went nuts. That's where the tape stopped, and that's when I got the letter and said, "Hey, you're on board."
Trying to find a place that would appreciate kind of my way of working, which was just to kind of dive into art projects, and it seemed like the kind of college that would work with me that way. And it did, and I loved it.
Interestingly enough, I came to CalArts originally to look at the school when I was in high school, and I was looking at the dance program then because I was still dancing. And then I decided that it wasn't the perfect fit for me. I decided not to pursue dance as a career, and I went away to another school, got my undergrad degree in theater and French language, and then when I was looking at master's programs, CalArts was a great fit.
In the world music program here at the time, there was a teacher named Tarnath Rao, who was, from what I was able to learn back on the East Coast in those days, was the guy to study with if you wanted to really learn tabla. So that's why I came.
Actually, CalArts chose me. I was in a relationship with someone who was determined to live in Los Angeles, and I had to find a way to follow him. And I auditioned at UCLA, USC, and CalArts was the one that thought I might have enough potential to take my money and brought me in.
Bert Turetsky, who is a new music bass player who actually taught at UCSD, said, I did a concert with him in Michigan, and he said, check out CalArts. So I did.
The usual suspects suddenly evince no disarming gall, no untoward predisposition given to business.
Hit the question.
Or you want me to do it again?
No.
My favorite memory of CalArts was a Halloween party when Kate Schneider was barely clad, serving Everclear shots, and it was not my own memory. It was a memory somebody else imparted to me because I wasn't there when it happened. I wish I had it myself. I didn't, but it would have been my favorite memory if I'd had the right to have one.
Yeah, it would be mine too, because I remember Kate really well, boy.
Some people don't have memories.
Yeah.
They can't afford them.
Probably my single fondest memory is graduation.
It was during the 1980 graduation, and one of the students went up to the podium and put his hand on the podium and then chopped it off with a knife. And I mean, it was obviously a fake hand, but it looked real. And so, and then there was blood squirting all over the place. And he went up to the president, Bob Fitzpatrick at that time, and splattered fake blood all over his suit. And then a helicopter flew in and landed in the graduation courtyard. And the guy hopped in the helicopter and they flew him off.
Wow.
And that was there were many memorable graduation events, but that was definitely one of them.
Well, what happened, gets out of CalArts, gets on a game show, and the rest is history. He's the Hoff now.
I actually think it was the week I arrived, because the people I met the week I arrived are standing right around me right now. That was the best. We're still friends, still stay in touch.
That's great.
That is what I loved so much about this place, is that it was non-stop. You were just constantly surrounded by fun, talented people. 3 o'clock in the morning, walking through the main gallery, and you hear somebody practicing their horn over there, and animators working over in the animation area over there. It's the best. It's absolutely the best. Wouldn't trade it for the world.
The after parties after Thursday nights with everyone.
Actually, my very first day at CalArts, there was a piece of paper up advertising some party out in Canyon Country. So I went out there, I don't know if you were there, Paul, but I know that John was there and another designer, a fellow named Ron Rizal. And from that night on, John and Ron and I have been very close friends for whatever that is, 35 years or so. So that's pretty nice.
Was the first time I was ever at the pool. And I was lying on the chaise lounge with my eyes closed, enjoying the sun. And suddenly I opened my eyes, and all these guys were walking around without their swimming suits on. And I was at, the level of, anyway, everywhere I looked.
I don't know if I have a favorite one, but I really like the gamelan next door to the film graphics room because I'd hear it all the time. It was really, really peaceful.
Oh, wow. Robert Corrigan was the president of the school, and right before Christmas break, the first year that the school opened, he came forward and said to the whole of the school that he wasn't really sure we'd have a school in the coming term. He didn't know if we would be here because Lillian Disney had not yet given the endowment, and we weren't certain if she didn't give the endowment, then the school would fail and turn into the hospital it was built to be. Because, Walt had a very different vision, but he died too soon, and his brother Roy built this with a plan B. So anybody who thinks that that story is a myth about the school being built to be a hospital, no, that's not a myth. That was the plan B. If CalArts failed, he was going to just turn the whole place into a hospital. Anyway, right around that time, there was a guy named Alan Weiner who was a graduate student here. And he formed the very first choral ensemble called the CalArts Singers. And the CalArts Singers went on, I think right before or during the Christmas break, we actually did go on a recruiting tour up to San Francisco and some other points north, with the thought in our back of our minds that we might not be coming back to school, but we certainly hoped so. And we also got a call right at that time that the Disney family wanted the CalArts Singers to come and sing at a party at their house on January 6th. Well, we weren't very cognizant at the time that people could still be celebrating Christmas because we weren't quite up on the whole Epiphany party thing. So we didn't get January 6th, oh, that's Epiphany, they're having a Christmas party. So we didn't prepare Christmas music, not at all, when we went to their house. So we went to their house in Hancock Park, and we started singing this program, and right in the middle of all of our pieces, they kind of go, stop, don't you have any Christmas music? And we kind of go, Christmas music? We didn't prepare any Christmas music. But we all get in a huddle, and we say, okay, you were in choir back in high school, you all know parts, right, to these Christmas carols. Yeah, that's great. Okay, so we come back out of our huddle, and we just start launching into Christmas carols, and they understand we have not practiced these. And they are so wowed by the fact that we can just pull it off and sound fantastic, and we did. We sounded great doing them. And they were just amazed. And sure enough, when we came back in the next term, Corrigan got us all back together in the main gallery and said, we got the endowment and in no small part, this is responsible, the CalArts Singers are responsible for this gift. And that was really the last anybody said of it. I don't think Alan's ever been given any kind of notation, but actually everybody who goes to this school since that day has the CalArts Singers to thank for that, because the school would not have gotten the endowment, it would not exist. And I think that's a big critical fact that has somehow been forgotten in the history of the school somehow. Anyway, so that was my main story to tell. You have anything else you want to know?
Student restaurant in the dormitory called Mom's, and John and I decided that we would cook a meal, and since I'm Chinese and I love to cook Chinese food, I said, well, I'll do a guest meal. And I cooked a meal, and John said, look, we should do a poster to say that there's a Chinese meal there. So John came up with the idea. I said, oh, great, we'll silk screen it. And it was a picture of Chairman Mao with a bun instead of the regular thing. It was just a big red poster, and my having studied Chinese when I was in college at CU, I said, well, I'll just write Moms in Chinese, not knowing anything about how
the actual Chinese idiom works, and I wrote moms in Chinese, and the next day all the posters were down, which in CalArts is usually a good thing because it meant it was a good poster, but it was also because the Chinese kids ripped them all down because I didn't realize I had inadvertently done a profanity. Because when you just take mom and you put a possessive after it in Chinese, it means your mother's cunt. And they thought it was very naughty. And so that's one of my favorite memories.
I thought the posters were torn down because people liked them.
Both. They either liked them or hated them, which is very CalArts.
If anybody has ever found my snake, I would like it back. It escaped somewhere in the second semester, and I've not seen it since.
It was a 6-foot gopher snake.
Yes, a 6-foot gopher snake from my desk. I would like it back.
Well, my favorite CalArts memory 49 years ago was the first Halloween parties where I saw my first naked lady.
My favorite memories are probably the Halloween parties and the spring fairs, which I don't know if they still do anymore. I'm not sure, what's going on now, but they were fantastic.
If you walk past the gallery spaces, that anytime you open the door, you never knew what was going to be out behind that door. So one day somebody might have done photography, and the next time somebody may have created a waterfall. And at one time I remember somebody had turned a gallery space into a miniature golf course. And it was Hawaiian themed, and I realized halfway through my enjoying it that I was part of the installation, and it was like I was the tourist that was coming to Hawaii, and I just loved the fact that you never knew what was going to be behind any door on a given night, because the campus just kept changing.
Yeah. So. Cool place. There was just like art all around all the time, music, theater, dance, and I just miss that a lot.
So I was actually, for a while, in the Whitney Museum, so that was pretty cool.
My favorite thing was the math class that Libby Apple taught, and that was a wonderful thing. That really helped me a lot, get out of my head. So it was great.
I remember vividly the Halloween parties, the dances and everything else. The crazy graduation with the helicopter, which I'll probably not say anything more about. Made a lot of good friends here, and I've kept in touch with quite a few of them. Unfortunately, a few are no longer around, but that's the price of the passing of time.
It was like after class or something in the afternoon, people would go into the rooms, and you'd start hearing the music louder and louder and louder. And all along the runway, everybody was playing the same album. And so I get down near my room, and here comes Ed Cornell and Elizabeth Menetre, and they were just beatniks beyond beatniks, okay? Elizabeth had her hair, and she had a pink mini skirt on, and fishnets, and her hair was like this, and she had a jug of wine, and Ed Cornell was in a sharkskin suit and a string tie and 50s sunglasses, and they walked by and they go, "Hey, baby." I was just like, I want to know them. Who are those people? And within about 3 weeks, I knew them.
It was when CalArts was at Villa Cabrini, and it was a Catholic girls' high school, but there's also, I think, some kind of monastery or something for nuns that was up on the hill above, and so they rented the school to CalArts, and they still use the monastery. And one day there were students swimming in the swimming pool, naked, and the nuns were marching in order in their habits across the top of the hill behind them, and I just never could forget that.
The most fond memory I have of CalArts is a memory that was placed over time, over the 3 years, that being thoughtful and being reflective allows you an opportunity to explore your freedom. And I found that to be so enriching. It's a memory of being free, but with responsibilities. Freedom with responsibilities. That's what I came away with.
The only thing I can remember are the parties, because everything else is a blur.
Slide. Grace. He would slide down the wall. Like it was.
Finish the interview.
Wait, I gotta read some more.
Let me put it this way. If it hadn't been for CalArts, I wouldn't have been able to get my head together and be able to I wouldn't have been schooled. I wouldn't have had critical capability that was available to be gotten here. People like Jeremy Gilbert Rolfe, John Baldessari, Don Levy, Gene Youngblood, people like Christian Van Hemmersveld, just unbelievable talent, who knew theory and were capable of giving that to you. It's absolutely priceless. There's no way to gauge that kind of Olympian capability.
Really opening up more so than I already was.
My strongest mentor was Jeff Keedy in the School of Art. He taught me to always look. But Alfred Ledzepko in the music program also taught me to always listen. And that maybe wasn't something I was as good at. And so it's timely that we can hear it in the background, because I think those two combined really taught me a different way to think about design.
Everything I learned here has made me what I am in those spots. The whole creativity aspect, the whole that not even just playing outside the box, but playing that there is no box, has really helped me go leaps and bounds in every job I have done.
CalArts has this way of of freedom, expressing yourself, and that was my experience, certainly here, as well as I think anybody else who ever has gone or goes here. And that still reflects in the music and how I sort of approach my life, for better or for worse. Sometimes it's a little discombobulated.
Express myself verbally. I learned to defend my creative impulses. I learned to trust myself in my creative judgments, not rely so much on other people's opinions or what is expected of someone creatively, as dictated by popular culture.
It helped shape me for Juilliard.
I really enjoyed working with Jules Engel. He was so supportive, and he always focused on the positive and just drew out the best. And I always felt supported and encouraged, but challenged also. It was very challenging, very hard, but really enjoyed it.
We met here at CalArts in 1972 and have been married since 1975 and remain happily married with 2 wonderful children ever since then.
And we met during Spring Fling. I think that they used to have a spring festival here. And,
Oh, I had 2 mentors. I had Larry Attaway, who was a wonderful mentor. Really showed me my strengths and my weaknesses and what I needed to work on. Kept me balanced. Christine Lawson was also my mentor in the graduate program. I benefited greatly from her vision that I could become a better artist than I thought I could become.
Working with people like Chris Malkiewicz, ultimately my mentor became Terry Sanders, who lo and behold is somebody I've worked with now for over 30 years. Terry Sanders and I have worked on a lot of documentary films. A lot of them ended up on public broadcasting, but I've traveled with Terry everywhere from Vietnam to Iraq on documentary films. So the friendships I made here continued on. You stay in contact with some of these people, whether it's a fellow student or an instructor in this particular case.
Wonderful instructors. B. Manley in the theater school. Ravi Shankar was here and played Aaron Copland music. Who else can you get better music instruction from than Aaron Copland? Sandy McKendrick, great dean of the film school, taught me so much about writing. In fact, I used a lot of what he told me throughout life, and keeping interviews down to 3 minutes. He used to have that egg timer on his desk. He'd flip it over, and if you couldn't tell a story in 3 minutes, sorry, go back and redo your story.
You know, I studied with Mel Powell, who was a professor of music when I was here, and he had a tremendous influence on me, even though he was actually very traditional in the broad scheme of CalArts, but he taught me how to go about finding my own voice as a composer.
I think Sandy McKendrick, because of his sternness and his demand for excellence, and Johanna was also a big influence, I think. I was very in awe of her being so successful in what was then predominantly a man's world.
And James Benning became a very big influence on me. He actually became my mentor.
There were so many incredible people at that time. Sandy McKendrick was running the film school, Mel Powell was running the music school, and we were able to study with all these guys freely.
Probably Mort Sabatnik. Like I said, I was a big fan, and I wanted to be like him, and he was a kind and brilliant teacher and composer.
It changed my whole life. I don't know what direction I would have gone in without being here. And Mia Slovensko was my ballet teacher. I remember, I'm almost about to cry now, I remember having to leave ballet class and go to the bathroom and weep and just sob, because I realized I was getting the best training available, you know, bar none. And I was so appreciative of that.
I don't know. I don't think any one person. I think you get a little bit of. I got a little bit of structuring from Sandy McKendrick in terms of how to put things into a reasonable fashion so that it makes sense in the end. And I got from Ed Emschwuller just the ability to have fun with the thing that you're playing with or that you're wanting to express. And I think, you know, when I studied tabla with Guruji, Tarnath Rao, you know, I got from him a sense, I remember one of the things he used to say was, eat, then look at me. So, you know, I don't know, there was just something about hanging around Guruji that you can't describe.
Yeah, it's
Nina Menkes, who was a feature experimental filmmaker, experimental narrative filmmaker, and she made primarily made feature-length films, so that became kind of the inspiration for what I was drawn to.
What's interesting about that question is that I just took a peek in the sub-level, and it's pretty fucking kick-ass. It's like a half-finished tattoo that a fucking teenager couldn't afford to finish. And I can honestly tell you, just from my interview of the sub-level just now, that fucking place is just screaming. And that's good. You know what? I can answer that question. A core command of artistic priority.
There are people who know better than to like just dismiss something like Ratatouille as a cartoon. They know that that stuff is not just for kids. And they know how to look inside of something, no matter who it's aimed at. They know how to look inside and find something.
A brotherhood feeling. Is it feeling like you're part of the mishpucha is the Yiddish word. You're part of the same clan, and you kind of you understand it. So if you mention something about the main gallery, or something about the pool, or something about the cafeteria or class, it's the same feeling comes whatever year you went to CalArts.
You almost feel like kindred spirits with many people because of the background and the way that we perceive the world. And it really becomes apparent when you're out there in the world in other fields that actually being a CalArtian or being someone who has experienced this building, this experience, really, this experience of CalArts is something that you really cannot describe to other people unless they've gone down the path.
Not being confined to any one way of thinking about art, music, all the various art forms.
Whenever you meet a CalArtian, there's this, doesn't matter when you went here, there's this level of trust and a kind of brotherly or sisterly attitude that you look at that person, no matter where they are now, how establishment, there's a rebel streak in there.
I think it's a much more liberal way of thinking, much more experimental, and open to lots and lots of ideas and input and creativity.
Determination, persistence. Try not to be afraid, because you are going to be afraid. You know?
I think the most defining characteristics of anybody who goes to CalArts would be somebody who's really open to new experiences and to new creative ways of thinking, and you know, the kind of people who are not afraid to look foolish or possibly, you know, make a fool of themselves by doing something that they're not familiar with. For me, that was the biggest thing, was just trying to step out of my comfort zone as an artist and as a musician. And I think those kind of characteristics are really what everybody at CalArts shares.
There's so many different ones. I'd say people that are interested in pushing the envelopes, or I hate cliches, but yeah, they're not concerned about fitting into somebody else's mold. They really want to explore.
Really, to be an artist from the depths of your soul.
I would not be an artist in a proper manner of speaking if it had not been for CalArts and its critical acumen and its capability to bring you home to your lonesome.
My time at CalArts and the people that I knew at CalArts, my cohort and then bigger cohorts, because the people you forget you know and you forget that you loved, because you saw them every day and you've never seen them since. But my cohort, those people knew me when I was the most me I'll ever be. And I love that. I love that in my life. Somebody knows who I am. And as an artist, I think that that's the only thing we can ask for, is to experience people who know us fully. And I'm a big mushball.
Oh, that's wonderful.